Have you ever sat through a meeting that honestly felt like a car ride with absolutely no destination? You know the kind. The conversation just meanders, everyone's talking over each other, and an hour later, you're literally exactly where you started. It's a painful, all too common experience. But what if you could change that? Well, welcome to today's Explainer, where we're looking at a total paradigm shift for anyone who is just tired of being a backseat driver during meetings. We are pulling directly from Guy Wallace's extensive work on PACT process facilitation to show you exactly how to finally take the wheel.
Okay, let's dive into this. In the spirit of being a proactive facilitator, I'm going to be highly declarative about exactly what we're covering today. First, we'll define the proactive facilitator. Second, we'll look at the rules of the road. Third, the 4 communication behaviors. Fourth, how to control meeting chaos. And finally, we'll wrap up with the facilitator's broader toolkit.
So, starting off with Section 1, the proactive facilitator, and how we're shifting the paradigm.
Guy Wallace's core philosophy for PACT processes is definitely not about sitting back and observing. It's an aggressive, highly structured approach where you firmly take the wheel. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between two very different mindsets. On one hand, we have the traditional facilitator, the passive, reactive, sort of sideline process coach who just lets the group meander. But then, on the other hand, the PACT facilitator is squarely in the driver's seat. They are proactive, declarative, and driven. They don't just sit around hoping the group gets to a result, they make things happen.
If there is one ultimate mantra for this entire explainer, it's this: the facilitators own the process, while the team being facilitated owns the content. I really want to repeat that because it is absolutely crucial. You own the process, they own the content. That is exactly why both parties are in the room. You are in complete control of the journey, but the team, well, they provide the fuel.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, Rules of the Road and Setting Up for Success. Now that we've got the mindset down, how do we practically apply it? Wallace provides 12 distinct rules for facilitation to set expectations right out of the gate. And the first, which honestly is arguably the most counterintuitive, is go slow to go fast. Look, in business, we're constantly plagued by the hurry-up syndrome. We just want to dive right in. But avoiding that urge is absolutely critical. By front-end loading your meetings, meaning you take the time to clearly present, discuss, and rationalize the ultimate objectives and roles before you even start, you actually prevent massive downstream rework. If you go slow to orient the team now, you can totally rock and roll later.
Next up, we have a cluster of highly specific visual communication rules. Because, let's face it, when abstract thoughts just float around a room, progress stalls out entirely. You have to write stuff down and post it visibly on the walls. Give people something concrete to react to. And hey, don't worry about being perfect. Neatness doesn't count, but being legible absolutely does. Also, empower your team with stickies. Instead of you running around playing the parking lot valet for every off-topic issue, let the participants write down their own premature thoughts and self-park them on a designated board. It keeps the whole group moving forward.
Another really vital rule here is the review and preview loop. Think of this recurring 3-step sequence as a crucial recalibration check. 1, where have we been? 2, where are we? And 3, where are we going? You should be running this loop at the start of a new day, after a mid-meeting process change, or right after breaks. It is literally the best way to ensure everyone is operating on the exact same map, and it gives people a structured moment to voice any frustrations before they completely derail the meeting.
Which brings us to Section 3, 4 communication behaviors and navigating the conversation.
Establishing the rules gets the meeting started for sure, but now we shift to actively steering the dialogue. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how human speech can actually be categorized. Basically, every single verbal utterance in a meeting falls into one of these 4 distinct slices: giving information, seeking information, testing understanding and summarizing, and finally, defend/attack. Once you start visualizing conversations through these 4 slices, it's a real game changer. You instantly become a better facilitator.
Out of those 4 slices, testing understanding is the absolute most critical for a facilitator. What this means is making statements or asking questions to confirm what you think you just heard. And the best way to do this, paraphrasing. Why? Well, because putting a participant's input into different words allows the sender to accurately check your receipt of their message. It proves you aren't just parroting back their words, you actually comprehend their intent.
But here's the inevitable hazard of driving any group: conflict. So what happens when a toxic, defensive argument breaks out in the room? Someone feels attacked, they defend themselves, attack back, and suddenly the whole meeting is spiraling completely out of control. How do you, As the proactive facilitator, step in and break a defend/attack spiral. You test understanding and summarize. This is the ultimate de-escalation tool. Summarizing diffuses the heat immediately because at the end of the day, an irate participant usually just wants to know they've been heard and understood. A short string of tests and summaries like, "So you're saying the vendor didn't get involved soon enough?" that instantly pulls the conversation right back to civilized ground.
Okay, Section 4. Controlling meeting chaos and handling hazards.
Navigating conversations is one thing, but a driver also has to handle dangerous road conditions and toxic group dynamics. One of the biggest hazards you'll face is groupthink. Specific red flags to look out for include a single dominant participant intimidating everyone else, maybe a few aligned dominant players taking over, a docile group that's just kind of lazy, or timid participants who are terrified to go against the grain. When you see these signs, it usually means you, the facilitator, have lost control of the process. You've essentially let someone else facilitate from the other side of the table. You have to step in, stop the process, and demand individual rationales.
Now, stepping in doesn't always mean being an authoritarian dictator. Actually, one of the absolute best ways to control the room is to use humor. As Wallace notes, you need to establish yourself as the biggest bozo on the bus. By using some wry, self-deprecating humor, you make yourself the butt of the jokes. And this beautifully lowers the team's defenses. It ensures participants aren't afraid to share ideas or appear foolish, because you've already claimed the title of the biggest fool in the room. Let's move to Section 5 and see how this builds into the facilitator's toolkit and reading the room.
Being aggressive and proactive is a fantastic tool, but a master facilitator knows it's just one tool in the box. To truly understand the situational lay of the land, you need to bring a robust toolkit to the table. This means having a command of many processes, things like process modeling, systematic root cause analysis, and decision-making. You also need general business knowledge, understanding exactly how a business organizes, operates, and keeps score, whether that's R&D, finance, HR, or marketing. I mean, you can't play the game if you don't know how the score is kept, right? These tools allow you to read the room, adjust your style on the fly, and seamlessly guide the team to their destination.
So we end with this final provocative question. Are you ready to stop riding in the back seat and finally take the wheel of your meetings? Remember the core mantra from today's explainer. You own the process, they own the content. Stop meandering, go slow to go fast, test understanding, and start driving your team toward actual measurable results. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and good luck facilitating.